Hi, ladies. I am again very sorry for the very abrupt ending that we had this morning. What I want to do is finish up the PowerPoint that we were started on, and I will show you where this is posted then, and also where the analyzing resources and those types of things are kept. As I'd said right before the dog interrupted me, when you're doing your poetry, we want to hear what you think it means, not what somebody else says. So please do not don't do a Google search for Emily Dickinson's poems or something like that. The next thing is that if you have information about the author in your essay, so let's say you wanted to talk about the fact that Emily Dickinson only wore white, but to her, white was this source of passion and intense feeling, and you had found that in our textbook, you would also need to tell me where that information came from. If it's anything that goes beyond what common knowledge would be. And most of the time for your poets that are part of that list, you'll need to say where that came from. Now, if that information is in our textbook, you're only citing one book. So again, you just cite the book and the poem together and it'll be fine. The next thing is that using MLA format means that, again, you're going to have double spacing throughout. You're going to use 1-inch margins. You're going to have your name block on the first page. You'll have in the header your last name and a page number in the upper right-hand corner. And in particular, in the Pocket Style Manual, there are pages for quoting style, how to quote poetry particularly. And they give you examples on pages 129 and 130. If you don't have that, I'm going to switch my share here for just a second. In our Blackboard classroom, if you go down to resources and you go down a little bit farther under literature, like says the analysis resources, when you click on that and you scroll down, this is where the questions to ask for analyzing poetry are included. And this PowerPoint is included there as well. But if you want to see the examples for citations, then when you go to resources, I want you to go even farther down to where it says writing instructions. Okay, so writing instructions has a file that is titled Instructions for Writing About Poetry. And when you open that, down at the very bottom of that, ooh, that went really small, didn't it? Okay, let's make this bigger so you can actually see it. Down at the very bottom, it says technical concerns, okay? And it has information like poems are enclosed by quotation marks. When you are giving lines of poetry as examples and you have two different lines, you need to have a slash in between them. At the end, you don't quote a page number for poetry, you quote a line number. And then if you're quoting more than 3 lines, you set them off an extra ½ inch and you don't use any quotation marks. So then if you follow down, there's some specific details. And I also give you an example. The next to last bullet point is how you would cite a particular poem from an anthology. And our textbook is considered an anthology. So you would follow the format that's given there. So that is all in the instructions for writing about poetry. Now to go back, I want to show you really quickly, I promise I'll shut up then. Under the analysis resources, like when we were reading Emily Dickinson today, she's a rough poem to try to get through sometimes. If you click on this questions for analyzing poetry, it gives you some tips. Like if you're writing, honestly, I would recommend printing out your poem so that you can write all over it. And it talks about highlighting things that are imagery or sensory language, highlight any metaphors or similes that you see. And I'm going to tell you, I'm the color coding queen. So like if I'm doing imagery, my imagery is a different color than my figurative language. If they have interesting vocabulary words, that's a third color of highlighter. If I don't know a word, I write the definition right beside it or off to the side. But basically, you're highlighting things on that paper that you can then talk about in your dialectical journal. And then some deeper questions to look for is then, where are the repetitions coming in? How's the poem organized? Does it look different than another poem might? Is it a sonnet? Is it a free verse? If you look at any E.E. Cummings, he has one about a grasshopper, and it literally looks like there's a grasshopper jumping on the page. So that would be something to notice. Are there important words in the poem? Is it a general word, or is it a very concrete word? Because that's going to help you figure out what the big idea is. Who's the speaker? Remember, the person speaking the poem, the narrator of the poem, is not usually the poet, him or herself. It's a person in the poem. It's like a narrator from a story telling you. So who's the intended audience in that case? Or what's the situation surrounding the poem? What's the tone of the poem? Does it change throughout? Is it the same throughout? And then it really is going to boil down to, what do you think this poem means? What's the big idea that they're trying to communicate to us as a reader? And what lines and words help you understand that? So I just think this is a really quick, fast way to highlight a poem to get you into a dialectical journal. And then once that dialectical journal is done, it just makes life a little bit easier. Please don't forget that you do need a dialectical journal. There's the video. Oh gosh, I'm sorry. I haven't turned the lights on. I'm in my office with all lights. Hi guys, just in shadow here. The dialectical journal should go stanza by stanza through your poem, identifying those important things. Make sure on the right-hand side in that column that's on the right that you don't summarize the poems. Don't tell me what it means. Tell me importance. Tell me how it's working. Tell me why it stands out, or if it creates a question for you. What kinds of questions do you have that you're trying to answer in the further lines or the later lines of the poem? Okay. Tomorrow morning on Thursday, if you have a class and you can't come in and you want extra help, please let me know. I can come in after school tomorrow and open up the Zoom room, in the afternoon if we need to. Otherwise, I will be in the Zoom from 8 until 8:45. You can come in at any time and just say, hey, I'm working on this poem. If you need help on anything. Friday is just going to be a work on your essay day. You don't have to do anything other than that. And then I'll have a little question for you in a journal that says, I did this on my essay, kind of thing. And then over the weekend, I will check my email regularly, even though I'm not going to be home. We won't have the essay due on Monday. Monday, we'll talk about Seamus Heaney and Billy Connolly, so that we have that extra time just to kind of get our ducks in a row again, because my ducks were out wandering where my dog was barking this morning. So thank you guys again. I appreciate you being really flexible. And if you have questions, I promise I will answer them. I will not leave you hanging. Okay. Have a great weekend. I'll see you Monday morning, unless I see you tomorrow morning. Bye.